Hello there, people of the internet. My name is Edward Jagero from the Money Monkey, and today we are going to be talking about money matters. So the platform is called Money Monkey, and money means money, and monkey means tricks. Okay, so basically things that the trickery that we can use to get money, the trickery that we can use to build our wealth. Today we are going to be talking with Doreen Hong, who is an expert in business and an expert in mindset and how to do business properly. So we are going to have a long chat about that, and we are asking you that you could be able to subscribe to this channel, because when you subscribe to this channel, that is what makes this channel grow. And not just subscribing to it, but also, tapping that notification bell so that you can be notified whenever we have a video out. This is about money, and everybody is looking for money. Everybody is looking to build wealth. Mm-hmm. And so, Doreen, how are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you, Koa.
Yes.
Thank you for inviting me today.
Yeah. So we are going to be talking about the business mindset. Mm-hmm. I have been a business since I left college. I always say without any pride that I have never been employed. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was employed for 30 minutes, and I went for a tea break and I never went back.
I have had similar stories like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So all I have known is business and how to do business. But business is a strange world, especially if you are not born into it. I feel like a lot of us, even when we are in school, we are never taught business.
True.
We are taught something about business education.
Yes.
But in as far as I remember, I actually don't remember anybody teaching me even how to sell eggs, even how to sell mandazi. I was never taught that. I don't know. I always have this recollection. Maybe I should go back and look at the textbook and see what exactly we were being taught. But then we are going to have that conversation. Before we have that conversation, I would like you to tell me who you are. And then after that, I'm going to ask you about everything that I ask a guest that comes here. What is your relationship with money?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's good you've mentioned. We'll go back to what you said about not knowing how to go about business. We would just wake up and find things have happened, the money is home and it's doing its work, but you don't know the process. That is what is normally not taught in school. But back to me, my name is Doreen Hong, and I'm an entrepreneur. I've been in business for the last 8 years in the events industry. But besides that, I have also been doing other things, and currently I'm moving into speaking and training, mostly about the mindset, because these are things I've experienced myself, and I've seen the before and the after, and what the difference that it has made as a result of going through, learning the process in between of what you've mentioned, of what we are not taught back then. So currently I work with entrepreneurs and help them recognize their self-limiting beliefs, work through them and overcome them so that they can thrive in the different spaces that they're in. It could be communication, it could be leadership, and mostly money, because money is very personal. And without money, you can't do what you need to do. And if you don't have a healthy relationship with your money, which is again tied to your self-belief system, then you're not going to thrive. You'll keep sabotaging yourself. Yes.
So I always say that my relationship with money is very traumatic, because money in my life has been used to solve problems. And I think this is also true to a lot of people, that money is always in short supply. And every time, well, I see you winking, disagreeing, but what I guess I'm saying is that you're always looking for it. It's not enough. Well, it could be out there, but it's not enough for you. You're looking at your M-Pesa balance, and it's always going down. Somebody gets you money, 100,000 on your M-Pesa, and then you pay this, you pay that. Electricity is gone, and it's always going down. So I feel like I'm always just having a traumatic relationship with money. Money is not giving me what's supposed to be. It's always lacking. It's always not enough. So what is your relationship with money? Do you love it? Which the Bible says is the what?
That is a myth that we're going to demystify once again. That the love of money is the root of all
Evil. Yeah.
Yes, that's what the good book says. But what you've mentioned is true for many people. The trauma around money. It is true. There are people who have money wounds, and they actually exist. Your first encounter with money growing up and how it was talked about around you actually shaped a lot of things in how you relate with money in your adulthood. Most of us growing up, you'd go and ask your parents, I need this, and they tell you what? Sina pesa. When that kind of talk and messaging is deeply conditioned in your mind, you will grow up just understanding that money is not enough. You'll always be saying that, sina pesa, even when it is around you. And this is the same thing we have witnessed with people who win lotteries. What normally happens? Because the mindset is that I never have enough, and by good luck, I got breakthrough, I got millions of dollars. But as long as the mindset is that I never have enough, you go into what is known as a compensatory behavior, because out of that traumatic experience you've had with money, you feel that first of all, you feel that you don't deserve it, one. And secondly, you always feel that you should always be on survival mode, what you are talking about. I should always be on survival mode. If I'm not struggling to make ends meet, there's something wrong with me. You even fear that people are going to tell you you've joined Illuminati. It's like it disturbs you because you are not taught how to handle the abundant part of it. You are always operating from a point of scarcity. So even when you get money, the should I say the neurons or the mindset?
Yes, the other day I was at this hotel along State House Road, just behind State House, called I think Radisson Blue. So Radisson Blue, I was there and I was taking tea. Tea there is about 550 Kenya shillings. That's just a cup, a small cup, this size. And most of the hotels have realized that Kenyans really love chapati. And if you are not having chapati on your menu, then you are missing something. And I asked how much is chapati, and they told me 600 shillings. And I posted on Facebook, and a lot of people they were looking at how much 600 can give you. They were saying how many bundles.
Yes.
Yeah, you can buy with the 600.
And the oil and you can even start the chapati business itself. Possibly pale pipeline.
Yeah. Go ahead. So yeah.
Yeah. So there is that, because when you go back to how you grew up, first of all, chapati was just you. When did you see chapati? Christmas.
Yeah.
So there's that whole scarcity associated with chapati, and it would come as a reward, or it would come when you are, say, if you're a bachelor and you can just access it somewhere at a certain price that never changes. Something to do like with salt.
Or a lady comes to your house and cooks it for you.
And that's an achievement, because I mean the gift that whatever will be exchanged afterwards, it's like chapati is something that is used to measure. It's a big deal, right? So you find that, like when you went to the hotel and you're told it's 600, you cannot connect the dots, right? And all these things come from, again, I say the mindset, the childhood, the upbringing. If what you are always messaged was that this thing, you will only get it when you do this. Growing up, we were even bribed with chapati, right? Whoever is going to wash the dishes, or bread, is going to be given an extra chapati. So it became like a prized possession of some sort. So you tend to identify it with something that is a bit far-fetched. And when we reinforce that growing up, we begin to feel that some things it's like you don't deserve it. Even when you're asking for the chapati for 600, you feel that you're not supposed to get it unless you do something, because that's the conditioning in your mind. And when the messaging is that strong, sometimes you can't pick it out immediately, but you do not understand why you're even having this conversation of paying for it or not paying for it. Why are you using the chapati at 600 based on where you are to equate it to bundles? When you start having those conversations, then there's a messaging that is coming up vis-a-vis where you are. And it means there is a gap over there.
Yeah, because there is somebody who's not even going to ask for the price of the chapati. They're just going to look at it on the menu and say, bring me the chapati, and they will eat it, and then they will ask for the bill, and they will look at the bill, and they will look at the chapati and say 600. It's interesting, but they just pay and move on with life.
And when you look at those two people, if you go back to how they were, it all goes back to childhood. A lot of things that we experience. Why do I mention childhood, and why do I reinforce that? It's because when we are growing up as children, most of the things that happen around us shape how we think, how we feel, what we believe, because even psychologically, they say that as the brain is developing, for a child, as the logical part is developing, they don't have the capacity to question something. So we tend to absorb everything that comes our way and take it as the truth. And then that is actually what forms the self-limiting beliefs. So for what you're saying, for someone who will not question the 600 shillings, probably this is someone who was raised with the messaging that reinforces abundance, that this thing will always be there, that money is not an issue, vis-a-vis you who was raised knowing that chapati is a prized possession. When you are asked to pay the 600, the one who was raised knowing that it's normal for them, they'll not even question. But for you, you're already equating the bundles in your mind. So how we are raised and how we are conditioned matters a lot. And that's why you see people have different relationships with their money. While you're on survival mode, another person does not understand that dimension. They don't understand that kind of thinking. They don't understand why you struggle to get money, because they feel like it's all around them. Yeah. Yes, because of the conditioning and how they reinforce everything growing up around them.
Okay, so let's get into what business mindset is. Okay, and the reason why I think it is the correct time to speak about this is because I am on the internet, I'm on social media, and a lot of people are starting businesses. I was in my niece's house the other day, and she gave me a drink, and this drink it tasted like wine, but it's not really wine. But it has all the hallmarks of a glass of wine. And I asked her how she's doing it, and she's actually doing it in her kitchen. Oh. She's using pineapples, she's using all these kinds of things, and then fermenting them for about 72 hours, and sieves them and do all these unbelievable things. And she has a drink that is supposedly supposed to I don't know, she was having problems with her stomach, and she was told that this kind of thing can help you. And she's no longer having these stomach problems, and that's what she uses. And she's selling it. And I see a lot of people, even beard oil, people are selling them. Yes. You go to Instagram, and all these young women are selling all sorts of things. And people are buying, and they're surviving on it. They are just sitting in their house doing these things. Yes. And then they sell them. Motorcycles come pick them, deliver them. And that is like, I was talking to my friend that was telling me that most of the things that is in his house, he has bought them off Instagram. But then that brings us to what I believe some are struggling. I believe some are finding it easy. But so I feel like we need to talk about what is a business mindset.
Okay, I would say a business mindset is a growth mindset. Yeah, because business is not static. Yeah, the processes may remain the same, but the dynamics around the process keep changing. And once you have a growth mindset, it means that you're willing to learn. You're open to knowing that how you do things is not the only way, and you can learn from other people. And it involves a lot of unlearning, a lot of learning, and a lot of relearning. So when you have a business mindset, it means that you have a growth mindset. Because if you
perhaps then we should be able to talk about growth mindset. What is it?
A growth mindset is basically knowing that, being self-aware to the extent that you know you're still unlearning things, you're learning, and you can relearn ways of doing things in a better way. Because when you compare it with a fixed mindset tends to cage you. You believe that there is only one way of doing things. You believe that if I don't do things in a certain way, then I'm not good enough. And again, it goes back to being closely related to having the self-limiting beliefs, because you're looking at things from a very fixed angle. It's like looking at the door through the keyhole. You can only see what is shaped around the keyhole. But when you open the door, then you see this whole room, and there's so much, and you get to see the opportunities. So if you have a business mindset, it means you must have a growth. You must have a growth mindset, because that's when you're able to identify opportunities. You're able to look at yourself and identify skills gaps that you have, and you're able to fill those gaps. You're able to collaborate with other people. If you have a fixed mindset, you can't do that. You'll think I know everything, or my way is the only way, and this is the only way I can do it. And then that's it. For example, for your cousin, when she started doing the business she's doing.
I don't even know the name of that drink.
Yeah, maybe we can name it Kamnywe Salt. Anyway,
we can name it Kamnywe Salt. That's correct.
A better name for it. Yeah. But I believe whatever ingredient she started with, say it's the pineapple.
Yeah.
She must have researched and thought, okay, there's more than one way to do this. And even in the process of researching, you realize there are so many other ways of coming up with whatever she was looking for the solution she wanted. So it means if she had a closed mind, she would only think that it's only pineapple and this and this and this is the only way I'm going to sell it. But because she has an open and a growth mindset, open mind, she knows that I can keep on improving this based on the feedback I receive, based on what I'm doing, and I can improve on my processes. So when you're doing business, you must have that growth mindset so that it enables you to grow. And all successful business people will tell you, you cannot move if you do not have a growth mindset. You can't be fixed and expect to grow because you're already fixed, you're caged. Where are you expanding to? Yes.
What are the examples of a growth mindset in business? Mm-hmm. So the examples of how you, for example, you've talked about collaboration, mm-hmm. all right? And so for example, you have started a business. Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that you need to do so that you embrace the growth mindset?
So for you to grow a business with the growth mindset, you first have to start with yourself. It starts with self-awareness, because anything that has to happen outside of you is a reflection of anything that is going on inside of you. If you're not self-aware, then you cannot be able to pick, identify, correct, or do anything or change anything that is outside of you. You can't really influence that in the way that you would want it to happen. So it starts with self-awareness, understanding yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your skills gaps, your emotional intelligence, your values, because most people conflict on values. Once you have all this outlined, then you get to identify your boundaries, why you relate the way you do with some things, with money, with people, and whatnot. When you begin to understand yourself to that level, then you're able to leverage your strengths and know what to apply on the things that are outside of you. So when it even comes to collaboration, you're not going to collaborate with people because of people pleasing, because you don't want to wrong people. Why? Because you've identified that I need to have boundaries when it comes to this, and this is the result that I want. This is the outcome I want out of this, because you've already worked on yourself. So the element of even having a growth mindset just starts with yourself before it can reflect on anything that is outside of you.
So we are going to be talking about understanding limiting beliefs. So if you could define it and then give us a few examples of how it really works. Yes.
Okay. Limiting beliefs. These are the negative beliefs that we hold about ourselves, our abilities and our capabilities. They're actually attitudes that we have. And many times they're not at the conscious level. They are normally at the subconscious level because of past incidents that have happened, and they are stored mostly in the subconscious mind because that's where our memories and our emotions are stored and processed. So until an opportune moment arises or a pattern is perpetuated, that is when you realize, I keep getting these results because I believe some certain things about myself. So for example, if I believe that I'm not good with people and I'm a business person, I will shy away from even employing people who might seem like a threat, and yet I need their expertise in my team. I need them to grow, right? But if I believe I'm not a good leader and I'm not capable, and that is the subconscious messaging, then I might tend to employ people who are not qualified just to fill the gaps and not to feel threatened. And what that leads to is substandard results in what I'm doing, and it definitely affects the revenue. Another mindset, self-limiting belief we can have is, I'm not good with numbers. For a long time, I personally believed I was not good with numbers. So you find that when an opportunity arises for you to deal with numbers, even if it's a presentation on data, you find that it's very intimidating and you cannot do it. And if it's up to you to take people through that presentation so that you have investors coming on board, what happens? You shy away from it, you miss out on it, and then it frustrates you in the end because you'll regret. You'll remember that, oh my goodness, I would have done it, but again, the messaging is that I'm not good enough. A third example would be, I'm not good in sales. These are things we tell ourselves. As a founder and a business person, you know that you need money, and money comes from sales. So if your subconscious programming and your self-belief system is that I'm not good with sales, then how will you sell what you're doing, right? You won't sell. You're going to look for excuses to sell, and you're going to support all the excuses around you why your products are not selling. Okay? Again, it affects your revenue, and if your revenues are not coming in to meet your expenses, you start saying that you've been bewitched, you're not good in business. You continue reinforcing a narrative that is not true. So the thing about...
But the question is, how do you actually know that? How do you actually know that it is not true? For example, a friend of mine told me that business is not for him, that he can't do business. So is that a true statement, or is it a belief? And how do you know? Because sometimes you actually, there might be facts about you.
True.
Yeah. The fact that you're not good enough in, let's say, numbers, like you've said. The fact that you're not good in something. So how do you know that I am not good in this? Or how do you know that there is something that is telling me that I'm not good in this? Like, for example, I don't know whether it's a fact that I'm very bad in Excel, but every time I see an Excel sheet, I think that I'm in problems. I can't deal with it. I can't make documents using Excel. So how do you know that the fact from the fiction?
It is important to separate the fact from the fiction. Where the truth comes in, where you're able to identify, is if you can go back and ask yourself why, until you get to the core. Why do I feel I'm not good with numbers? Do you know what I realized for myself? I realized it's because growing up, and when we were going to class, and during math lessons, there were times when I could take slightly longer to grasp some aspect of maybe a new topic that was being introduced. And so when other people are catching up very fast and you're not, and you're slightly slower, you're catching up, much slower than the rest, and you're getting less marks than others, you believe that you are not good enough at that point. And if the teacher or the authoritative person, it could be your parent, telling you, how can you fail this? You're not good in math. Don't even concentrate on it. It only takes such a small incident for a developing child to absorb that, stick with it, and begin making stories in their minds as they are growing. So the approach, because of that small event, makes them accept it as the truth instead of separating yourself from something that happened. So it normally comes from you not separating yourself from something that was not good, and you allowed it to be your story. But when you go back to the root and you separate yourself from what happened, you were told you're not good in Excel, maybe by someone, or somebody laughed at you, and you bought it. But if you separate yourself from that and say, that was something that happened at that particular time, I failed the exam and that was it, so I can still work on it. At that point, you separate the fact from the fiction, right? And then you're able to change the story. Because it's true, the fact happened that you failed, but is it true that you'll remain a failure and you'll never be good at it?
That's
interesting. That is not the truth.
That's interesting, because then it introduces something else, which is, and you are the one who has introduced it, what you were told. So, do you think that people are lying, that you are this way and that way? Or there is something they're seeing? But then again, you are answering it in the sense that, does it mean that you'll stay bad in that for a long time? So why are people telling me what they are telling me?
We have to understand that many times people will tell you things based on where they are at in their lives and where they are coming from and even their experience, right? I can come and tell you something, but how I say it and what I tell you could be based on my limited experience. But does it have to be true for you? Does it have to be true for you? It doesn't have to be true for you, right? For example, if I have fear of driving and I have my son who is very curious about driving, if I've not dealt with it because of something that happened and it traumatized me and I formed stories about driving, I'm going to pass it over to him. Because he's growing up, he might buy it as the truth because he sees me as an authority and the caregiver. So it is possible that people can see you and tell you things, but we need to challenge some things we were told. Some things were not true. They were tied to certain events, but those events are in our past. They're not defining us now. But if we don't separate that, then we buy into the narrative. I can never be good at it. I can never be good at this. I'll give an example. For example, if a child volunteers to answer a question in class or in front of adults, and they give the wrong answer based on the question that has been asked, and everyone laughs, that can ridicule them and make them feel like they can never stand in front of people and say anything, because anytime the opportunity arises, they feel that what outcome they got of being laughed at is what is going to be repeated. They are going to be shamed. That is different from someone who knows, okay, I was laughed at, I even laughed with the people, but that is not me. I'll keep on raising my hand and seeking the opportunities. So most of these things are tied to past experiences, which are stored in the memories in our subconscious mind, and they keep coming up when we encounter something similar in future. And then we react the same way we reacted, because again, sometimes those experiences were left unprocessed.
Yeah.
Yes.
I grew up without anybody doing business around me. My father wasn't a businessman. My mother tried a kiosk and failed terribly. There's always a laugh in our family about that is the shortest business we ever saw. I think my mother started the business out of vengeance, and because the people were laughing at her, and we were basically brought up in poverty. And I think there were kiosks around in the village, and I think she was perhaps trying to get to be given things on credit, and I think they were not. And I don't know where my mother got some little money, and she started this little kiosk and named it Ochaya kiosk. So if you look at the naming was terrible actually. She called it Ochaya kiosk. I am not. It loosely translates to I am not good enough kiosk.
That is the subconscious programming.
You see, so I am not. Ochaya means I am ridiculed. Something like that, and that is what she means. She named the kiosk, and I think it did not take 2 months, and the kiosk collapsed. So the other day I was at home, and my cousin was laughing at me and telling me, "Do you remember that kiosk that your mother started?" Yeah.
You know what, Koa? Unfortunately, most of our belief systems, whether they are positive or negative, but today we are talking about the self-limiting, the negative ones, they end up being self-fulfilling prophecies. And then what do you tell yourself in the end? Just the way you mentioned, it had to be like that.
Yeah.
The shop was not good enough. You reinforce the messaging that even my products are not good enough, my services are not good enough. So once it collapses, when you're just seated by yourself, you say, I shouldn't even have tried, because after all, I was not good enough. And that is why I mentioned when you change and you challenge these belief systems and reframe them. What if she mentioned it good enough?
Yeah.
People would come and know that whatever I'm buying is good enough, and she would show up as good enough and sell in a way that is good enough. And believe you me, there would be expansion and growth. So the messagings really affect how we relate with things. And I'm very sure for her, even when she would get the money, she would look at the money and think, no matter how much money I get, it's not good enough.
Yeah,
because
I guess the premise of starting this whole thing was very lopsided, and I think that she did not even think that it is going to go anywhere. So I think it failed before it started. But then I think the question that I wanted to ask is that sometimes we feel very much alone in business, like you don't know what people think about you, about the services that you offer. And I think this is something that is really eating people up. You don't know whether what you're selling is good. Sometimes there is a lady that I talked to. She sells honey, and she told me that I don't know what people think about the honey. I asked her, what do you think is the biggest challenge in your business? And she told me that I don't know what people actually think about this honey. Okay. And is that important, what people think about anything?
What people think, I would not dismiss it as not being important. It is. But when you work on yourself and you're self-aware, there is something known as focusing on the circle that has things that are within your control, and there are things that are outside your circle of control. What people think of you, you cannot change it. That is outside of your circle of control. And when you focus on things that are outside your circle of control, you expend so much energy focusing on things you cannot change. What you're thinking of me right now, I cannot do anything about it. The only thing I can change and I can influence to work in my favor is what I think about myself and things that are within my control. And these are things that people need to learn. Okay? So when you say that I don't know what people think of me, you will never know, because today I will think this, tomorrow I will think that. And you will not keep changing things to suit everybody, because then that indicates there's a lack of boundary and a lack of self-awareness. But when you focus on what you can control, what can you do about your product? What can you do to make it better? And if she wants to find a way of knowing what people think about her product, instead of guessing and doing guesswork and filling in subtitles and worrying, she can decide to do a survey every time she sells the product and identify criteria which will inform her feedback and yet again inform her decisions. So she can decide to base the criteria of the honey based on the delivery, the viscosity, whatever standard she might use. Then she will know what people are thinking. Out of knowing that, she can make an informed decision. But when we don't know that again, and we are having stories in our head because we think people are thinking other things, you can't move in business. And that is an indication of a self-limiting belief. Yes, because you're worried what people think about you. You shouldn't be worried what people think about you, really, if you're focusing on what is within your control. And what I would like to add is, when you know what is within your control, your emotions, your responses to what other people do, you can use them to influence what is outside your control. For example, for her, maybe people think her honey is not good enough, for example. Maybe that is what they think. But she can decide to focus on the packaging, the delivery, on developing a system that will make sure her product is selling really well, the marketing is really well, her customer service is really good. By focusing on what she can control, it will then automatically influence what people will think of it, because after a short while they'll be like, I like how she delivers, I like how she does this. So you can influence that, but you first have to know what is within your control, then know how to use it. But guesswork, it won't give you any results. You'll keep guessing. Yes, and you'll always guess wrong. You'll always think the negative, because that's what is all around us. It will be hard for you to sit and think, I think people really love my honey. We've been conditioned to think negative first before we can even get to the positive.
There are, like I said when we were starting this podcast, is that there are so many people that are doing business right now.
Yes.
A word of advice for them in as far as mindset is concerned. Some of the things that they should know in the world of business.
Okay. I want to believe that in the world of business, it's important for you to really understand yourself first. When you understand yourself, then you're going to be in a better situation and in an advantageous situation to leverage on your strengths and your areas of improvement so that they can work in your favor. Understanding yourself means that you have to be self-aware, understand your strengths, your skills gaps, your limits. What are your limits? And then you can make an informed decision of what action to take next. Because what normally happens, most people start business to, sometimes to run away from a situation or to look for a way to make their lives better, but we forget other things that we need to do. In the process of getting to know yourself, you get to know your strengths and your weaknesses, as I've mentioned. Then there is the aspect of the business. How does a business really run? There are systems and processes that must be in place. There's continuous learning. The business that you start 1 year ago will definitely change depending on what you're doing and your vision and even the external factors that are surrounding that industry. So it's a continuous process of learning about yourself, about your industry, about what you need to do so that you continue with your journey, right? If you don't address those things, then you're going to move in circles and cycles, and you'll end up stagnating.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you very much, Doreen, for such a wonderful conversation. So thank you very much for watching this episode with Doreen,
Yes.
a lovely guest. I really enjoyed it. As I've said, I've always struggled with the business mindset, because you always think that business is for other people. Business is not for you. You're just doing it because you have to do it. But I think business for everyone.
Yes.
You know, and so thank you so much for watching this episode. The reason why we are doing this is so that people can be literate in as far as business is concerned, so that you can build wealth, so that you can excel in your business. One of the things about YouTube and about videos, about content, is that content needs to be loved, so that the algorithms of Google, the algorithms of Facebook, the algorithms of TikTok can be able to see that people are actually loving this video. So when you like this video, there is something going on, and everybody around the internet and the algorithm world is being told that there is something good here. So we'd ask you that you may like this video, you may subscribe to this channel, Money Monkey Africa, and tap that notification bell, so that every time we have got a video, you can be able to be notified. So until another episode, thank you very much, and bye for now.